About 7 minutes. This is his third speech. And the theme behind the third speech is to get to the point. And that's what Aziz is going to do.
Fellow Toastmasters and guests, I guess after Vincent's breakdown of the fiscal cliff, my speech about therapy is very, very appropriate. I got a quick question. How many people here have ever been in therapy?
Physical therapy?
Physical.
Not physical, the other kind of therapy, where you get counseling if you have an issue or something like that. Okay, that's a lot of people. I asked that question, and I expect to get a certain kind of response. Whenever I ask people that question, people start shifting in their chairs and not too comfortable saying that they were in therapy. So I'm glad everybody was kind of honest in the room. About 10 years ago, I found myself in a certain situation, okay? For whatever reason, I found that I wasn't sleeping well, okay? I've always been an insomniac, so I always stay up late anyway, 12 o'clock or whatever. And at the time, I didn't understand why exactly I was not sleeping well. And it's the age-old pattern where you feel like you're not falling asleep. Your mind is active, but your body's tired. You've all been there when you're laying in bed and trying as hard as you can to fall asleep. And I just couldn't fall asleep, so I didn't know what the situation was. And I asked myself, well, what's going on? How come I'm not sleeping well? The next day you wake up and you're not functioning very well because you stayed up so late the night before. So I said, all right, this is affecting me at work. This is affecting me in how I relate to people. It's affecting my daily activities. Let me find out what's going on. So I asked a friend of mine. I was telling him about the situation. I said, this is what's happening to me. I'm not quite sure why I'm staying up so late. And even though I've always been a bit of insomnia, for some reason I'm not sleeping. And he says to me, well, maybe you should go into therapy. So, I was surprised. I said to myself, well, okay. Not only because he said this to me, but this is a guy, if you knew this guy, he couldn't even spell therapy. From what I knew of him. I grew up with this guy my whole life. And when he said this to me, I said, well, what would you know about therapy? And he said, well, I went through a divorce about a year ago, and I was going through some issues, and I went ahead and I've been in therapy now for over a year. And I had never known this. I was shocked. This was the last guy you would think would ever do therapy. So going from there, I went and asked a few other people that I knew. I asked my sister, I asked my girlfriend at the time, and they all had either been in therapy or were currently in therapy, and I had no idea what they were. Okay? And it opened up my eyes a little bit more, because my impression of therapy was always for people who had major problems. You have the image of a Woody Allen type character who's barely trying to hang on, and he says, I'm going to call my therapist because I'm about to lose it. And I felt like that was the image, that somehow if you admit that you need to go to therapy, even using the word admit as opposed to choose to go to therapy, if you do that, that somehow you're not in control of your life. Make a long story short, I went ahead and signed up for therapy. And what I realized and came to find out was that therapy is really all about listening. Therapy is really about talking to someone who's a neutral third party who has no stake in the game, either sitting there and hearing you talk. My therapist used to sit there and just say one word, what's going on? Okay, what's up? And I just start talking. And he'd sit there and just take little notes. And I would talk about this, and I would talk about that, and I would talk about sometimes it made no sense for the whole time, but I got it out there. And the one thing everybody told me who had been in therapy was, it's work, it's not easy, you have to be focused. And you might not get this breakthrough moment, like that moment in the movies where you break down crying, and oh my God, that's why my mother beat me. No, it's not going to happen. It's a long-term, drawn-out situation. Well, that's kind of traumatic. It's a long-term, drawn-out situation. But what I did appreciate was, as Confucius said, to know yourself is to forgive yourself. So you might not figure anything out, but what you will do is find out why you are the way you are, how you got to be the place you are right now. what might have affected you and you didn't even realize it affected you. And the help that a therapist gives you, again, it gives you a neutral third party, no stake in the game, and just gets this stuff to come out of you with confidence. Now, my line of work right now, I'm a business coach, so you know. And I also have clients who I have as a personal coach or a life coach or something like that. And it's similar to what a therapist does, but it's not what, let's say, Laura does. Laura does more of a psychotherapy who is more medically inclined. The people I deal with are people who are going through some issues like I was, but they're trying to figure out how to resolve them in a timely manner and not quite sure how to get there. And again, the biggest role that I play is I just listen, I let them talk, and we can start talking about their business, and next thing you know, they're telling me about their divorce, their kid, their mother was sick, their dog who won't stop pooping, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The key is listening. So I'm here today to advocate therapy for everyone. If you have never thought about therapy, if it's not something you've ever considered, think about it. Think about talking to someone, because you're not going to get the same advice from a priest. You're not going to get the same advice from a friend or a relative. These are people who know you. They know your faults. So when you tell them something like I do, my sister comes to me and says, oh, I got this problem. I'm thinking, again, and I've heard this a million times. You need somebody who's a neutral third party, no stake in the game, who can help you solve your problems. So that's my application for you today. If you haven't thought about going into therapy, it is a very useful thing. It is very helpful. It gets you better understand yourself. And that's it. Thank you.